All right. Welcome back, folks, to another open court discussion in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Ow.
Oh man, he growling louder than the fireworks. I told you we about to try to get the fireworks started before the fireworks get started. And as always, the panel will be a showtime decision. If you're interested, when I put this out the other day, you could have hit me and Herb up, or during the show, you can also reach out in the comments if you want to join the conversation. But recap from this past Monday show, what people need to know about mental health in men. And we're seeing it, and it's just seemed like it's always something on a daily basis with like mental health stuff going on and the violence, and it's just getting out of hand. We covered multiple talking points, such as the signs of depression for men, top reasons men commit suicide. So, if this show interests you, go back and watch the replay on the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. Okay, moving right along. Tonight, July 3rd, we will discuss and break down when you think of hood or ghetto mentality, what are your thoughts? Yeah. What do you think about when you hear those words? Are they offensive to you? Does it bother you? Do you feel like someone is forming judgment of you? So these phrases, hood or ghetto mentality, may bring out many thoughts, such as someone trying to get over on someone, or sitting around drinking and smoking all day, every day with a lack of productivity. Okay, now that I have your attention, don't forget to like and share our video, and please recommend others to subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. Because right now, I think we're sitting at 695, five away from 700. Been grinding, trying to get there. And they've been adding some more features for people who want to get monetization. Actually, they might have, for certain areas they dropped it down to 500. So I'm past that, but you still have to have like 3 million short views when you post short videos, and so it's still, it's still, you still got to put in work. That's why this is not easy, especially when you decide to join and create a YouTube channel. You got to put in work, long hours. Um, so here we have it. The day before the fourth. What's going on with you, Herb, this evening, this past weekend?
Got a work story. There are very few things in my life that will make me walk away from an individual while I'm working. That is yelling at me for something I had nothing to do with, particularly when I've exhausted every opportunity to address a situation. And the situation was legitimate. Individual had a legitimate complaint, but the individual was being unreasonable. And then the individual started to raise their voice. Now, I'm 51. There's only a handful of people that have ever walked this planet who can raise their voice at me. They are all deceased. So when you raise your voice to me, you're low-key threatening violence. I'm not a violent man, but that don't mean I'm going to allow myself to be disrespected. So in order to avoid any confrontation, I walked away. People, understand something. When you go to any business and somebody's providing a service to you or for you, you have certain things that you are entitled to. One of those is fair and equitable treatment. But understand that also works the opposite way for the person who's servicing you. They have the right to fair and equitable treatment too. And that does not mean yelling at them. So be forewarned that you yelling at somebody that you don't know, that isn't your son, your daughter, or your wife, could leave you in a very bad situation. That's words from the wolf. Don't be yelling at people.
All right, all right. Me is same old. Low key is quiet. No schools, no kids in the building. They'll be coming back with some of the summer school kids, so it's been kind of quiet, um, refreshing. Um, but I know it was one thing. We had a leadership meeting the other day, and we were, breaking down root cause analysis. And usually I sit back and observe, but I said, you know what? I'm gonna start giving them a little something, giving them a little something. And we were going through it, and we were discussing our school when I mentioned that my overall it was something in regards to what's your overall belief in the school, like is it a negative outlook? And I said, I don't have a it says it's bigger than the school. And I said, it's this whole education thing. I said it's not, it's not going in the direction that it should be going. It's not working. I said we are not meeting the needs of these children. We're not meeting them halfway. We're not looking at what's going on in society and addressing that. We keep saying, okay, every year keep coming to the table talking about the same shit over and over and over, and not realizing like, oh, this is what's going on. Oh, they got serious issues in the community, serious issues. And I know most people might say, well, that's not your job, but sometimes something needs to be put in place because they're coming with those issues, that some of that ghetto mentality into the schoolhouse. And that's when it becomes your issue, and it's exhausting all day, every day. But we're not doing anything to address it. So I kind of said that, and the person who was it was an outsider from the systems office who was facilitating the meeting, and she like, I feel you. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And as I'm like, it's just the same stuff. So kind of ties into this subject matter as well. Because a lot of times when you think of, and don't get us wrong, when you say ghetto mentality, hood mentality, it just doesn't mean all blacks, as many people may think. But from two black men, a lot of that's our perspective. So it's going to be, it may be more targeted towards that because that's our perspective, but we know that it's other races that fit right into it, because there's some neighborhoods that's very diverse, and shit, everybody acting the same.
Mhm.
Everybody acting the same. So we gonna have at it, and because when you think of ghetto mentality, what are your thoughts? So it's basically one of the things. It's a mindset that celebrates the absolute worst.
Mhm.
Like a lot of times with that mentality, you champion any old thing, and you'll see it on social media, and we're like, are they serious? Are they serious? And one of the examples I use, like when you see these little kids and they twerking and popping and rolling their hips and all of that stuff, and it's people like, oh, she's so cute, and I'm like, are they, are they? They're kidding me, right? And then you have people in the comments that usually rationalize that behavior, like, oh, she's just a little kid. She is so cute. She's so adorable. Wrong move, because that same stuff right there, which I don't know, will have her ass at 18, 19 coming down the pole, and somebody need to be correcting that behavior. But nah, y'all think this shit cute. She may be cute, but the shit she doing, that's not cute.
Hmm.
So that's my little start off.
Yeah,
Her
you know,
ghetto mentality.
and and I'm gonna follow that up. A lot of people, don't understand the psychological implications. And one of the things that I learned, in a few psychology classes I took was the blank slate theory, and that is the theory that you can make a kid anything you want to, provided you start off early enough in that child's life. So I'm going to expand on what David was talking about in terms to the mentality. When him and I, or most black people for that matter, speak about the ghetto mentality, we're usually speaking about our collective behavior with regards to these few things, so these handful of things: the music, dress, and when I say dress, I'm talking about the kind of clothing we wear and how we wear it, the food we eat, the entertainment that goes with television, movies, and music. Now, some people might ask, you already listed music. Well, music can be used to do two things. Music can be used to teach ABCs, or music can be used to destroy, as we've seen a lot of what current hip hop and some R&B is doing. Our financial fiduciary irresponsibility or responsibility, if you want to, our health, our collective treatment of each other, our educational acumen, especially when we talk about the lack of educational attainment for young black boys. And then how we go about looking at reproduction, whether we do it um, as single individuals or whether we do it as a cohabitating household, or whether we do it under the guise of marriage. And I say we because we're all in this together, whether we have kids or not, it's still reproduction. Some people are what I like to call WWI, woman wine irresponsible, and some people aren't. It just so happens that the vast majority of us who are responsible still have to deal with the irresponsible decisions of other people because they live in the community. It's not like they have these children out of wedlock or as single people and not cohabitating and they disappear. They're still in the community, they're still in the environment, they impact us, whether good, bad, or indifferent. Now, with regards to the mentality, the larger question is this: do we really want to change it as a people? Do we? And I know that sounds crazy. People are asking, well, why would you not want to address what it is that's holding you, your people, your community, all of y'all back? That's a very good question. And I'm going to give you three groups of people, and I'll let you answer that question. We have the group of people that are going to agree that there needs to be a change made. You're going to have another group of people who are going to agree on the changes that need to be made. And then you're going to have group number three, people who don't think anything is wrong. Now, which one of those groups of people you think is going to give you hell trying to change this culture, trying to change this mentality? And furthermore, why would they do that? Well, as everything in this country is driven by money. Some people are paid to be lazy. I think you mentioned it in your speech, David. Why would I want to change something when I'm getting paid to do it? Or why would I want to do this when I don't have to do anything to get this amount of money? That permeates our legal system, as you mentioned, David, the educational system, the political system, and people will think about, well, how does that how does hood mentality impact our political system? Well, when we don't vote, we get things like the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, that only happens at the federal level. And you know what? You're correct. Seeing as though the average American only votes during presidential elections. It just so happens that when Trump was elected, one of the slots came up through to death, unfortunately, and the other one retired. That allowed him to tip power to the right, if you will, or to a more conservative Supreme Court. So we see that played out in the Supreme Court decision to overturn affirmative action with regards to college admissions only. I want people to understand that college admissions only. But that doesn't mean that's not going to have long term implications going forward. Now, there are other ethnicities that benefit from hood mentality. When we talk about synthetic hair on this platform, black people do not control that entity, that business. All the money that is spent by, I'm going to say it, all the money that's spent by black women in regards to that business, none of that comes back to the community. All of that goes back to enriching those people, allows them to buy homes, pour into their kids academically, or in any other manner that they see fit. Meanwhile, the people that are purchasing that are just getting by. At the federal level, there's HUD, which is Housing, Urban, and Development. The people that are largely employed in those jobs aren't struggling to pay bills. You know why? Because of the hood mentality. We have people that would rather be on Section 8 or some other form of government assistance who are capable of working. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. Are capable of working, but they don't want to. Ergo, the group number 3. They say, you know what, I'm comfortable with paying $30 a month for rent, for subsidized rent, because I don't have to go out here and work 40 some odd hours and do this and do that. My children are fed. I get some medical assistance. I get help with heat, all this other stuff. And I know other people get to take advantage of those programs, but we're talking about black people. So I don't want to hear about all those other people that get to take advantage of those programs, because all those other people that get to take advantage of those programs are struggling with the issues that we are. The legal system. The average salary for a criminal justice major, and I looked this up, is $40,000 a year. That's for one individual. That puts that individual in the middle income class bracket. Then we go into law enforcement officers. Starting pay, depending on your municipality or what that individual is doing, is starting out at $36,000. That's not overtime. That's just flat pay. We're not talking about any compensation that comes from retirement packages or overtime or things of that nature. That money is all taxpayer money. When you look at how disproportionately black people are in law enforcement, but we represent the bulk of people who are incarcerated, they're eating off our backs, whether we're coming or whether we're going. And a large percentage of that is black males. Now, conversely, I'm going to go back to HUD. If we take 1% of HUD money and we can invest that into Black America, that would be in the amount of about I think it's like $7 billion a year. The reason why I mentioned HUD is because all of those programs, not a lot of them, all those programs have administrative cost to them, administrative and humanitarian costs, which averages 2.2 billion. I shouldn't say the average is 2.2 billion this year with the Biden budget request is going to be 2.2 billion this year. That's a lot of money, and we as a people don't see much of it. So when we talk about how can we change things, first of all, we need to start at the home. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying but the people who are in control, which is predominantly women, if you won't help, you have to accept the help how it comes. You can't get in there. And when somebody's doing something that you don't like or that makes you feel a certain way about how your child is being treated, you have to ask, is this going to be beneficial for my child in the long run? because castor oil is a very necessary medicine. We don't like the way it tastes, but eventually it works out for the betterment. Our mentality will stop us from doing that because we don't like how it makes us feel, or we don't think it's going to work. When we look around the rest of America and the rest of the world, and we see that it does work. So here we are pushing back against every social norm that works for every other group, and we embrace it because we want to be hood. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and it's so much to it, and even here in Baltimore the other day, when certain area in South Baltimore, Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Homes, they had a block party, and they had images of everybody out there. They riding the little motorcycles. You got the little girls twerking and all that, and it's like a big community. But people from Baltimore knows like, yo, that ain't where you go. That ain't where you go. And I never really been in that area. Before I became a 12-month employee, I worked for the YMCA as a site coordinator, and one of our sites was in that area. And that was regular during the day hours. So I would go there and get the hell out of Dodge after that, because I would always hear coming down here people like, oh, Cherry Hill, Brooklyn, and all that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not just gonna go venture off into places I don't have no business going to. But they celebrate, and then I don't know what happened or whatever the case is, but it's a mass shooting, and I think at first they reported two people, but I think maybe like four people got killed and like over 20 some people got injured. When do this shit stop? Like I don't understand. It's frustrating. And then you see people on social media, the same people that's champion for the hood mentality, like, oh, this got to end. This got to end. Like, oh my God. Why? Because it was somebody that finally hit home, finally
Mm-hmm.
hit home that was
Yeah.
related to you. But any other time, you carry on with the same behaviors and you think it's going to change. And we've talked about this for years. Like, this ain't none of that. This was designed to happen. When you think about when Herbert mentioned all the different how they profit and benefit off of the hood and ghetto mentality. They know your ass is gonna go to jail, in and out.
Mm-hmm.
They know
Mm-hmm.
that. They know they'll give you some time, and you didn't hustle, whatever. We'll let them back out. His ass will be back, and
Yeah.
we're gonna finally get the person we want.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let him go back, get back out there. They know this. It's by design. They showed you these images and talked about it back in the days with Boys in the Hood, and when they was talking about you know gentrification and liquor stores being on every corner in the black community and churches and all that stuff. That's for y'all to go to pray and hope and dance and think that this is going to lead us to a better condition. Is it working? I'll wait. Is it working? Mm, it's not. Only way changes like that is made is when each individual take a pledge and look at themselves and say, from here on out, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. I'm going to encourage my children to do better. Our household going to do better, and we going to be all right. And if you can get three or four houses to do that, that that's you got some things cooking there, because that's the reason why you don't have these that we talked about this before, the same programs in school. because they know black boys is nice with their hands. You give them something, they so intelligent, they'll find a way to put something together and figure it out. Now they even got, with technology and computers, they'll figure that out. They know how to do stuff corrupt to jailbreak shit and do all that stuff. So they'll figure it out. So they say, nah, can't do that. So for them to be able to take a trade, whatever, they got to take a test and they got to compete with other individuals. So we know them Asians, they smart as shit. They come here, they handle their business, whatever the case is. Africans, they started out that way, but now they got hood. They got a lot of them are hood. So you see some of the things that go on in schools, and you're like, now if I called your mother or father, what would they say? What would they do? They don't play. They come there be ready to whoop ass because they don't expect their kids to act like you Americans, you black
Right.
African Americans. They don't. That's not how we raised our child. So they say you have to take these tests, and they say we'll put a point system on there. Like the more A's you get, more B's and stuff. That helps you your admissions to get in, and we'll have a little assessment. But by the time uh, you know, the black boys, not only black boys, black girls, but we just gonna say as black men, we gonna say black boys. By the time they take the test, they may score well on the actual um, hands on, but they didn't fail all damn throughout middle school and all that sixth, seventh, and eighth. So they never really accumulated the maximum points in that area. So again, who's getting trained for those trades? Other cultures,
Yeah.
and they eating good.
Yeah.
They eating good. Carpenters, electricians, and all that stuff. They eating plumbers. They eating good. But those jobs could be for black boys, and they could be getting stepping into apprenticeships like at 18, 19, uh, doing that for going through their journeyman issue, and then by the time they 22, they making 50, $60 an hour. Now tell me how that ain't gonna change communities. Tell me when you got a 19 or 20-year old, even if he got a child, they gonna be all right. Because dad make about 50, 60 an hour. He only 20. And he do stuff on the side on the weekends when he ain't working and get paid hundreds and $100 or something an hour. But they try to remove that.
Yep.
What's
And
going
that's
on,
for the
Daphne?
yeah.
So that,
And
that
that's for
that's
the
the
Ebony
small
K
picture.
crowd. Yeah. Yeah. That's for the Ebony K crowd who thinks that everybody who has to be somebody needs to have a college degree. It's 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 the biggest attack on black intellect that there has ever been. What people don't realize is that once upon a time in this country, college used to be free. That is right. You didn't have to pay to go to college. Pay for college is a recent phenomenon. Now, that doesn't mean everybody went to college because the way society was set up, society is more of an agrarian place. So you needed people to work the fields. But as technology improved and things transitioned, and you had some legislation that passed, that's when college started to become pay for play. And it's just like David said, if we collectively, and this is something that I'm working on, thinking about doing long term, if we collectively take, excuse me, 1%, and I always look at 1% because it's such a benign number that nobody will think about it. But if we take 1% of all the money that comes to black homes and we start to invest that in our communities, so whether we give out money for people that want to finance home buying, car buying, or any other type of investment, business investment, We start to build our own communities. We don't need to worry about anybody else. The Wall Streets that we're always talking about, the Black Wall Streets, the Tulsa, Greenwood, we could recreate that because the land is plentiful, especially in the Midwest, because people are now flocking from the Midwest to the coast because that's where the jobs are, just because of everything that's happened post COVID. But the land is there. Like I said earlier, the question is do we want to change? And if we want to, then that change is going to have to be a mental change first and then a physical change second. Your thoughts will always align with your actions because what you think it, you gonna do. I never know nobody say I'm gonna be a professional athlete and sit on a couch or a couch eating Doritos. That don't happen. You say, I'm going to be a professional athlete, and then you go do the things it takes to be a professional athlete. Well, if we want to change that hood ghetto mentality that we have to start by doing. And that means each individual and each home on each block start to form, and then you move outside those homes into the communities, and then you start there. Can't be worried about what the neighbor doing because what the neighbors do ain't none of my business. It doesn't affect my household unless they burn the stuff down. We have to do better. If we want better, we have to do better. We can't keep talking about white supremacy, this and that. You, what are you doing to improve the collective lot of the people that live with you, the people that live around you, and the people that you could potentially help? Because that's the only way this is going to change. And this is, and like I said, when I was talking to David off air before we got on, with the Supreme Court decision, it's going to get real cutthroat. So if your kids aren't doing well academically early on, they may not ever get a chance at uh, at a degree from an institute of higher learning. Pardon me. Now, the way we can combat that is this: the HBCUs, we can start to fund them ourselves. They shouldn't have to depend on federal money if we take that money and go there and we start to build programs at these particular schools that train in blue collar jobs. So whether it's like David mentioned, electrical, HVAC, even medical, even though medical is not a blue collar job, all of those things. But like I said, HVAC, um, electric, masonry, and people will say, "Well, why would we need masonry?" Because last time I checked, a brick house is a nice thing to have, no matter where you live. Learn how to pour concrete, learn how to do electricity, plumbing, all of those jobs, as Dr. Umar saying, and people may not like Dr. Umar, and I don't always align with everything he says, but he's writing this. Those are the skills that pay the bills.
And one of the things, and I know, and I'm only the only reference I'm gonna have is Baltimore, Niagara Falls, Buffalo, and mainly probably Niagara Falls and Buffalo because still I'm still more deeply rooted in the people I know. And I've said to a couple people before that I want them to be want to challenge them to the ones that's electricians and who do construction to build decks. Start having boot camps in the summer. It don't have to all be about money, but if these people getting robbing y'all blind with these sports uh, for paying these astronomical prices for sports camps, and your kid can't chew and walk at the same time, but you forking out that money, it's time for people who got those skills to say, you know what, I'm having a 6 week session here, and whether they charging $100 for the 6 weeks or whatever the case is, maybe start off at that level and start schooling these young men on how this process begins. And man, I think that would be big. That would be big
Eh,
to say, oh, I got to go to construction camp. Oh, you like going there? Yeah, it's fun. Today we built a garage, or we built a shed in the back of the house. Me and our crew, we did that. Kids like 14, 15, we did that. And they like, for real? Like, yeah. Yeah. You don't even that would be major. That would be major. And if you're the one who's doing it, you'll benefit too, because everybody be trying to get at you. And then that's when you can say, you know what? I don't even do it no more. I didn't hire some people I got some soldiers under me that I hired, and that money train to stay within us, stay within us. But you got to start thinking about stuff like that. I wish I had a skill like that. I wish I did.
in addition to that, people can get grants, government grants, to do these type of things. There's a part of construction or deconstruction, if you will, that's called deconstruction, where they actually go in and deconstruct the building. So they take it apart almost in the reverse order that it was put together. So your wiring, your plumbing. Some may take out windows. Speaking of windows, that's another lucrative, very lucrative job market that's probably untapped by black people. Do you know how much it costs to install windows in an older home? Those are skills that don't require all the education that's being forced upon our people. And I'm not against education, but what people need to understand, if education was treated as an investment, like starting a business was, then why do they make it so difficult to get a business loan, but they'll fund your education? Does it make sense? It does if you own a bank, because on that academic loan, you're gonna get interest. Once they open the business and pay you off, you're not getting anything. So you need to continue that stream of income. So therefore the interest. Once I get a business loan, I start my business and I become self-sufficient. I don't need to continue to borrow money from you. Like David said, I can go out and hire some of my knucklehead homies. And I'm like, look, man, come here. I need you to act right. I need you to put down the 40. I need you to stop smoking weed. If you do that, I can guarantee you that you'll come to me and there's jobs that we gonna have aplenty. You're gonna get at least $25 an hour for. At least. You're gonna have homes aplenty. You're gonna have government grants, because there's grants lined up for especially homes like mine, where they go in and they redo these homes using government funds for people that are qualified. But because we don't look at it, because we think, oh no, that's what white people do. That's why white people are always getting ahead, because they do what white people do. They use the system. They use the system's money to enrich themselves. We have to stop looking at things through that prism if we want to get to be where everybody else is. We're not going to progress by thinking like we are now. It's not going to happen. It's not.
And I think if you really want violence and all that stuff to stop, this is the mindset that you have to have, is a mindset of productivity, that everybody is trying to prosper and wean themselves off of government systems, and try to build and grow. And when that happens, and I don't know, 'cause I haven't seen it, but I mean, I know it happens when you think about the well-to-do communities and all that. They kind of
Mhm.
they look out for each other. They kind of be on their own. They're not robbing each other. It might be somebody that be maybe bold enough to try to come in that area, but I'm sure they don't get too far off. They probably caught everywhere they turn. It's probably freaking cameras or whatever the case is, and they look out for each other, and they have safe environments, and you know, for the most part, many of the kids probably get along. They probably been playing sports or dancing and doing different stuff throughout their childhood, and they become one. They become a close bond. Well, for one, that's not the case with us because we talk about this often too. We live in a transient population that people come and go, they move, they don't pay because of the ghetto mentality. They may not pay this if they don't have Section 8 or they don't pay rent. They rather say, man, I ain't paying my rent this time. I'm going to this damn Beyonce concert. I always wanted to go to that concert and I'm going. I said myself, I'm going. Really? Really? So you're gonna go, and knowing that it may be, and I'm just saying for now, if it was during this time, knowing you got school clothes to get, uh, things for your children, but because in your mind, because remember also ghetto mentality, they don't care about nobody else. It's a
Right.
selfish mentality.
Come here, boy.
So even they kids can take an L, and and I know we've went back and forth with this before when we even think about the food stamps, and they're like, well, some people sell their food stamps because they got other needs they have to get, but you got 3 or 4 hungry ass kids, they gonna eat up, they gonna eat shit. So I don't I, and I think some people again rationalize and try to come up and make excuses for individuals like that. Most of that time, that shit is to go buy a damn outfit from the rainbow, go get your nails done and all that, because you going out tonight. You need a break, but you ain't did nothing. You ain't worked. You ain't put in 50, 60 hours. You worked the bare minimum, but you got to get out. You need a break, and that's all a part of the mentality. When you take away from your household for selfish needs, and it's only for maybe a couple hours of gratification, but then you got to look at kids when the food is running low. Now what happens is now you're calling up the school. Do y'all have anything? Christmas time. Um, are y'all helping us with Christmas? I'm thinking, and I know I've been doing this for years, but I'm thinking, the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
because they calling. They call on a regular basis. And it be the same people. And know what gets me? When we put them on the list, and I can remember like 3 or 4 years ago, this kid, now he wasn't black, he was white. He wanted everything related to, because he thought he was a little tough guy, whatever. Couldn't crush a grape with a spiked boot, but he wanted boxing gloves, punching bag, different stuff like that. We made sure it happened. The churches came, called us like, "Do y'all got any kids? Okay, this is the list. This is what they want." So after Christmas, I said, "What's up, buddy?" I said, "How's that punching bag going?" I said, "You be putting in work?" "What are you talking about, Mister Glover?" "The punching bag, dude." And he like, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "The boxing gloves, the punching bag." "Mr. Glover, I don't know what you're talking about." I went back to my office and I said, "God damn it. That goddamn mother then sold that crap. She sold that crap."
Oh.
Uh,
Ah.
so he never got it. Again, ghetto mentality. Only care about yourself. He ain't getting this shit. I can probably get some money from this punching bag. Some grown ass person might use this, whatever. So I'm gonna sell it or whatever. Maybe I'll be able to get me a fifth or a gallon of this or that. Ghetto mentality. It They weren't black. They were white.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm gonna give you one story. All my things that I come across at work aren't bad. So there was a couple, a family, I should say, from Vietnam. Now, if you don't know where Vietnam is, I'll say just look it up on a map. So when they checked in, they told me the name. I don't pronounce the name, and they were slightly incredulous. I said, "Oh, well," I said, "I'm not your typical American. I'm a little more worldly than most Americans are. So, when you talk about Vietnam, I can actually look at a map and point out Vietnam as opposed to Korea and things of that nature." So I was talking to him about their last name, and I was explaining to him. I said, because I'm a football fan, and there was a gentleman with the exact same name that played for the Dallas Cowboys. I know how to pronounce the name, so it's not foreign to me. So when I see it, and for those of you who don't know, that win. Now, it's not spelled like it sounds. It's not spelled WIN. And just so I don't get the spelling incorrect, I'm gonna look at my paper, and it's spelled NGUYEN. Little tip. So when you see that name, that is a Vietnamese name, and it's pronounced Win. Okay, correct, Gavin. So I explained to him. I said that Win played for the Dallas Cowboys, linebacker, wore number 59. He went to the University of Texas A&M. Now, her son, who also happens to go in there, to go to Texas A&M, came in. He said, "Oh, Dad." I said, "See, I didn't have to say anything other than that," and he knew exactly what I was talking about. I said, "You're an Aggie." He said, "Yes, I go." That's the thing that other cultures do that we don't do. Now, I don't know if they have something set up, a scholarship program for Vietnamese students to come to America and go to Texas A&M. I just happen to put two and two together and know that's what a lot of places do. They're a sponsor of family. They're a sponsor of child. We can do that too. We always talk about people going back to Africa. But why is it that we can't put money together for a student, male or female, who's shown promise, is shown the ability to handle being on their own, not necessarily alone, but being on their own, responsible, and say, "Hey, look, we have a fund set up for students who shown academic progress, shown academic promise, to go travel abroad. Doesn't necessarily have to be Africa. I would like it to be Africa because we have to it's necessary for us to start to try and figure out a way to bridge that gap across the Atlantic Ocean, to start trading with each other so we become stronger, independent of America. Because whether we understand this, realize it, or want to agree with it, America is no longer the preeminent world power. Now, that doesn't mean we're not a power. We're just not the preeminent. China is sitting right there. And in about another generation, China is going to be poised to be that power. Not to mention, and this gets into, world finances. I don't necessarily want to do that on this platform because it might bore some people. The BRICS is also started to try and break that American hegemony up. Like I said, I won't get into it because it might be esoteric for some people. But the more outroads we start to build across this world in terms of Black America, the more financially independent we can become of America, which means that we're not always going to be financially tethered to this country. So if this country does bad, we have other streams of income that we could bring into this country and substantiate ourselves and trade within ourselves and build our own economy inside this economy. So even if America takes a hit, yes, we may take a hit, but we're okay because as a culture, we have always managed to do more with less. That is the mentality that we want to keep. It's all that other nonsense that we want to get away from because it holds us back from moving forward. And we only gonna go as high as the lowest tide allows us to go. In other words, if we even if the community starts to progress and we got people back there that's hanging off the edge of the boat, they don't slow our progression. And unfortunately, those are the people that we have to deal with. Like I said earlier in the top of the program, the third group of people who don't think anything is wrong, who thinks nothing needs to be fixed, who think that hood mentality, going out, turning up, smoking weed, not working, not being productive, they think that's it. They think that's the way to prosperity. And when we're not as prosperous, they want to blame white supremacy. Well, the white man ain't giving me this. Well, no, he never has given you anything. And this is something I came up with. We are born, for lack of a better term, free. But independence is earned. There is no country on this planet who has not fought in some way, shape, or form for the current level of independence they have. In some way, shape, or form. Now, I'm not saying every country that's free has picked up a, a firearm and fought for that. Country just north of where I am had their Independence Day. They were granted independence by Britain. Canada, for those of you who don't know, is the British Commonwealth, but they're independent. Same thing with Australia and a bunch of other countries around the world. They still use pound or the English dollar as their currency. So we have to understand that we need to. It's imperative because in about 2 generations, people that look like us aren't going to be as numerous as we are now. Think about how the Native Americans, you barely see anybody that is really Native Americans. Some people will get them confused with Mexicans, and it's understandable why. But if we want to maintain our numbers, then we have to start now and urgently.
Let me read
Yep, Mackey's absolutely spot on with that statement.
Mackie Samuels. He said, "When I think about hood or ghetto mentality, I think about the worldview, values, and behavior of someone from a lower economic status, as Bill Cosby discussed in his infamous pound cake speech." And we know what that speech shook the world. It had a lot of folks upset about the stuff that he was saying. But was he lying? And we know that when sometimes people say stuff that make you feel uncomfortable, and it hurts to the core. And I know for me, times that I've been hurt to the core, I said to myself, "Nah, I got to do something I got to do something to change this." Uh, and came back stronger. And I think that's the thing. But if you have a mentality like, "Oh, I'm not worried about being evicted. I'm not worried about my lights or anything being cut off because I'm just gonna go down and apply for this grant or heap or whatever, and it get cut right on." You're never gonna change. Your mindset is gonna change. And I said this to numerous people. And again, when we think about this, I'm just thinking about, and I said it here is well documented on this show. When everybody's out there, look at us posting pictures. We just gave away 100 coats. Look at us. We stuffed all these book bags and all of that. But meanwhile, y'all not looking at the whole landscape, everything. You know that mother was just posting pictures that she was in the DR, or uh what is the other one people been going to the
There's a,
boys
there's a,
Dubai
yeah.
and stuff like that. But they're milking the system, and this is not making things better. This is not making things better for some people. Again, the only way people change is when they feel uncomfortable.
Mhm.
If you never have to worry about feeling uncomfortable and you always have somebody that you can go to and rely on, shit, you might think about it for a second, but you're like, oh, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. You might even throw up God in there. I'm just gonna pray on it, and it's gonna work out. But you already know you got something to fall back on. What happens one day when you don't have that stuff to fall back on, and you have to face difficulties and stuff? But again, it won't change if people feel entitled and they always got a crutch to fall back on. So I think that's why some of the things continue to happen uh, on a daily basis, because people are not uncomfortable, because they feel uh, now probably middle class people may feel uncomfortable with certain situations because they don't have nowhere to turn. So they may feel it, but people below that level, they don't feel shit. Lemoyne, what's going on, brother? Being uncomfortable always creates change. Good point, bro. You got it, man. My man, Lemoyne, my guy. Gavin said, is there a link for the broadcast? Uh, Let me see. Herb, could you give him that
I think I
link?
just sent it to him. Yeah, check your inbox, Gavin. Yeah, the other thing, you mentioned it. People have faith, but the Bible, and I'm not a biblical person, says faith without works is dead. It goes back to what I said earlier. We have to start putting in that work. Want a better home? Start scouring places for jobs that you can do. And it might turns out that you have to start small. Nobody starts at the top. That's a fallacy. Nobody does. I don't care who you are. You might have to start small. You might have to work your way up. You might have to. I remember when I lost my job at the casino, I had to start over. I was making almost at that particular point in time. I think I was making like almost 15 an hour. This is 10 years ago. I just bought my house. I got fired over some nonsense. I had to start out another job, just making over 10 an hour. I said, I love a pay cut as far as I'm concerned, but I was like, yo, it's what I got to do. Now I'm at the point now where I'm making about twice that. And I know it may not sound like a lot of money to people, but for where I live at, that's decent money. But the point is, you have to start. Prayer ain't gonna get it done. Prayer don't build a house. Prayer don't build a bank account. Work does. I don't care what kind of work you do as long as it's honest. You get a paycheck for it, you file your taxes, I'm with you. Because it reminds me, one day I was coming home from the corner store. The young man was pushing the shopping cart. He was foraging for bottles and cans. I don't know who the young man was. I think he's 11 years old, and I can't remember his name. He didn't have no cans in the cart, no bottles. And I asked him, I said, what you doing? He said, I'm just looking for bottles and cans. I said, you know what, young man? Gave him $1. I said, I appreciate your hard work. I didn't give it to him because he was not doing anything. He was being mischievous. He was out earning. And I have no problem rewarding a young person that's putting in some effort. I'm always going to reward a young person that's putting in effort because that's how I was treated. I've had people do that for me. Oh, that's not what you're doing. They say, hey, look, man, you come around to this address, I got a couple bags of bottles waiting for you. All because I was working to get something. And that's how kids, we had a former panel member, Willie A. Price, who talks about how his stepfather used to take him around and show him how he gathered money for people paying to stay in his apartments. That's a language that young men understand. There's many, but this is the one that keeps them out of trouble. It's the one that keeps them out of the criminal justice system, providing an income for other people. It's the one that allows them to actually progress in the market and earn and take that back home to maybe a wife, certainly kids, and say, hey, look, I'll go out and earn for you. It's just like the line in the movie Fences. That for those of you who've either seen the play with James Earl Jones or the movie with Denzel Washington, the point is still the same. I have an obligation to you because you're my child.
Gavin, what's good?
Hey, excuse me. Sorry, just got home from work and a bit hungry, so I don't want you to hear me talking.
Oh yeah. So,
Hmm.
what's your take? We said a lot, and I mean, I know you probably haven't heard anything, but and I think you had responded. Did you respond like your thoughts of ghetto and hood mentality?
Yeah, I would say the two examples of ghetto or hood mentality is one. You guys remember that brother in Texas during COVID who started a nice kind of fine dining restaurant, and
Yeah,
women
yeah,
got up on the tables, twerking on the tables near the window, and he's trying to do his best to let them know, hey, could you please? And they just kept on. And the area that the establishment was in a nice, decent neighborhood. It was in a rough neighborhood, but it wasn't, Beverly Hills either. But I mean, the man started this restaurant. This brother started his restaurant in the height of COVID. We here in California were locked down by the governor, like curfew, bars were
Yeah.
closed, you know, the whole nine. So that was a sharp example of ghetto hood mentality. And also, I don't know if you heard about that Walmart in Chicago that had to shut down because a fire was set. I mean, like they just had enough. I mean, and of course, the many five finger discounts people were doing. We had one right here in LA, same thing prior to COVID, got shut down for the same reason. And it's just no shame. That's what I consider a hood mentality.
And you know what? The funny thing is, Gavin, to what you just said, and I didn't think about it until you said it, was during the blizzard that hit Buffalo this past winter. They had a lot of that same nonsense going on in certain communities.
Yeah, like wow. And oh, another example of hood mentality. During our lockdown, as you know, Governor Newsom, when I say he locked down California, like I said, bars were closed, nightclubs were closed, movie theaters were closed. I mean, plus curfew, shut down. Even stores were on the curfew, whatever. So, churches, you couldn't go to church.
Yeah,
I
which
mean,
is crazy.
he really put the smack down. Normally, when you talk to sisters about, or when you have this conversation in the community talk here in LA, brothers will say to women how they always support the Korean economy. If you know where I'm going with this, they will throw back into the brother's face, well, y'all drink. Well, here's what happened in LA. There was a famous liquor store here in Los Angeles on Crenshaw Boulevard, which is a very known, well in a area, black neighborhood, Crenshaw Boulevard, called the Liquor Bank. Went out of business. On that same Crenshaw Boulevard, when you go a bit north, there's what in the hood is referred to as the Remy store. What is the
Oh,
Remy store? Where
yeah, I don't
sisters
know.
buy, their hair weaved in bundles, the whole nine. When you look it up, that's an emporium. It's called Ebony Wigs and Beauty Supply, owned by Koreans. That store did not go out of business. What were women doing, sisters doing, when there was no place for them to go? Not even church, but it still survived, thrived, and it's still right there doing business now that, the lockdown has lifted. Ghetto hood mentality.
they was buying that stuff and still posting on social media and carrying on and going to virtual happy hours.
My
Man,
goodness.
You said virtual happy.
shit,
You
they,
ain't
people were
Word.
people were doing that.
And I guess I don't see a lot of that because my friends list really doesn't exist with those type. They're just not on my friends list. The things that I talk about, the people that I want, they're not on my friends list. So I don't see a lot of the whole ghetto nonsense, even though I know it's out there because I've seen clips. I'm at the point now where I blocked World Star Hip Hop, so I don't see any feed from World Star Hip Hop in my news feed, at least folks Facebook, because that's the only one I'm really on. I don't do Instagram a whole lot. I don't do Twitter at all, because my phone is out of service right now, broken and need to be repaired. I don't see a whole lot on TikTok, and even with TikTok, I still don't see a lot of that foolishness because I refuse to entertain it. And I think we as a people, and this is something I mentioned earlier with the entertainment, we need to either start to produce wholesome entertainment, movies, original scripts, short movies, short clips. We see it all the time, especially with TikTok. We're more than capable of doing this. But it seems like that's not what we want. That's not what gets us excited or makes us happy or just um moves us to do things. And I'm different. I don't mind sitting down watching. Matter of fact, I'll tell the story in this way. For the last couple weeks, before what happened with Titan, I've been fixated on the Titanic whole thing, the entire thing. So I've been watching about shipwrecks from the HMS. I'm sorry, the RMS Lusitania, the HMS Britannic. I've been watching them all. I've come across two movies that I've never heard of. One is the Titanic 2. Yes. And here's the cliffhanger: the ship sinks. Okay. The other one was the Britannic. I will tell you, check out the Britannic. I think it's an excellent movie. Um, the concept, from what I understand of movies of this type, and there have been very few because World War One was a war within and of itself. They had a lot of different things going. I think it was World War One. So the Britannic, I think out of 5 stars, I'd give it 4 stars. Original script. I've never seen any other people in the movie, so I would tell you to watch that one. The Titanic too, if you're a die-hard movie fan and you want to entertain a woman or whoever for the night, you can watch it. It's
What?
kind of it's kind of it's
What?
kind of fun.
What? I'd rather watch
Because
paint dry on the wall than be with a young lady and watching a fucking Titanic.
I'm
Wait,
just
we
hey,
heard when you say
Huh?
Titanic 2, you mean the one with Leonardo DiCaprio?
no. That was Titanic. There's a movie that's actually named Titanic 2
Oh,
with the
brother.
Roman numeral 2. I'm telling you, man, because how they said it. Let me get into it. Movie script time. How they get into it is actually very ingenious. If you have ever seen the movie the day after, no, it's not the day after tomorrow. It's oh, I can't remember the name of the movie right now. But anyway,
Let me just enter what Lemoyne said, trying to put someone to sleep. LOL. Yeah. He trying to rock a bye, baby. Go to bed. Let's get to bed or whatever. You sleepy? You don't want to go home? Whatever.
yeah, the movie
Out.
the movie is the day after tomorrow. And the day after tomorrow kind of, and this movie kind of follows that track where there's some ocean issues with icebergs falling off the coast of Greenland. And true to the story, they get some explorers or some scientists that go out there, and they find out what's going on, and the iceberg is coming actually toward the ship. The ship, of course, is sailing from New York east, so it's not coming to New York from Ireland or in this case Belfast. But anyway, the iceberg ends up slamming into the ship, and this ship goes down quickly. And the funny thing
Oh,
about it is
wow.
they had all the technology surrounding the ship, and the owner of the ship so happened to be the son's father, maiden voyage and everything. And it's like, yo, the movie, it couldn't have been any cheesier than what it was, but because I kind of like to sit back and watch this stuff and see how it unfolds because I like to get into how potentially to write a movie or a short movie.
So
I said, this is one of those things I said is crazy, but I'm crazy enough to sit through it and watch it. So I did. But like I said,
so,
the
so
Britannic,
Melvina's supposed to watch that with you, or Laquita?
hey, who whoever wants to come over and just say no, not tonight. We watch that movie. But like I said, The Britannic is definitely a movie that I think is worth watching. That's just my personal perspective on it. The Titanic 2, take it or leave it. But The Britannic, I'll you know what? I'll even drop the link to the movie The Britannic on my Facebook feed. My Facebook profile is open to everybody. So if you want to come back and click on the link and watch the movie, I encourage you to. I watched it uninterrupted while I was watching and writing the notes for tonight's show. I think you like it. If you don't, you can tell me you don't.
Well, yeah, I can watch that with her, but I'm ghetto mentality. We gonna watch a movie on Tubi. We gonna watch a movie on Tubi. That's what we gonna watch
Wow.
with some cocktails, and we gonna enjoy that, man.
Keep in mind,
Hmm.
people, I don't have TV, so no Netflix, no Hulu, no Dish, none of that. So, you know, YouTube is pretty much my entertainment in terms of the outside world. But that's why I tell people, I said, I don't get caught up in a lot of the hood mentality and a lot of stuff, and that's probably why I can tell people about those type of things. But I wish more of us would actually start turning off the BS that they're putting on TV, whether it's pay per view, and when I say pay per view, I'm speaking in terms of cable, not Hulu,
Hmm.
not Netflix. I realize there is service and you have to pay for the service, but I'm talking in terms of cable because I look at them as completely different entities. Because
Okay.
Hulu, you actually have to sign into cable, you turn your TV on, it's there.
Well, isn't that the issue? Because people with ESPN that they got rid of a great deal of people because they would losing money or whatever the case is because a lot of people got these streaming services, the smart TVs, so they're not purchasing those cable
Yeah,
packages anymore, and so. And I know, ladies, this is throwing you off, but like some of the people that they got rid of, like what the hell is going on here? Like, man, they got some star power that's going. And one of my favorite pastimes is boxing, and I
Max
didn't
Kellerman.
even know. Well, Kellerman, but I didn't even know they got rid of Andre Ward. And I'm like, oh, I'm just over it. Like I'm done.
And Max has been there for about 20. Well, if we go back to Fight Night, Max Kellerman's been on Fight Night before he started as on ESPN. So, and I heard that Max Kellerman, and like David said, sorry, ladies, we know this gets off in the sports. We don't want to treat y'all like that. From what I understand, Max Kellerman and Jalen Rose are gone.
Yeah, even Jalen Rose, like
Yep.
man, somebody will pick
True.
him up. They'll pick him up.
Yeah, that was crazy. I said, "Oh man, yo!" But I mean, and, and we start to look at, and actually, this plays into another thing. If we start to look at the major sports producers on television, so there's only a handful. There's CBS, which only usually does football. I don't think they have a contract right now. I'm sorry, uh, NBC and Fox. Fox is taking a hit with Shannon Sharp and what's the name? I can't remember his name right now. Um, their show being split up, undisputed. What is his
Skip
name?
Bayless.
Yeah, Skip Bayless. So I mean, and I'm all for people having their differences and their perspectives and things of that nature. Rarely do two people agree on everything. But we saw with Shannon Sharp um, that there were some things that he just that made his skin crawl when Skip would talk about that. And this is why I was thinking it was important that for Greg last week to have come on and given his perspective as an older Caucasian male, because we don't always see things the same way. And sometimes, and I've said this before, sometimes in order to get grace, you have to give grace. Skip is who he is. And to expect Skip to change is foolish. And I liken this to Steve Harvey. After I watched the entire interview and not just a clip or a snippet of the Steve Harvey interview on Club Shay Shay with Sterling Sharp, because I always want to call him his brother. I'm sorry, Shannon. I understood why he says the things he says. And I said, you know what? I'm no longer going to speak ill of that man, because that's the generation he comes from. That's not hood mentality. What Steve says is not hood mentality. How Shannon believes, thinks, and speaks is not hood mentality. That's a generational mentality. And there's nothing wrong with that. So men out there listening, don't bash those brothers. Understand where they come from, the time period that they're speaking from, and how they were reared. Just accept them for who they are. Because they're not out here doing damage to anybody, even though some black women will say, look, Shannon isn't married to a black woman. He isn't dating a black woman. You got to accept that. The same way that y'all accept that Serena Williams isn't married to a black man. The same way that y'all will accept Meghan Markle as black, the first black queen, the first black person allowed into Buckingham Palace. You got to stop playing that game, because it's going to keep us separate. If you want to accept something on one hand, you should accept it on the other. And if you don't, that's only going to serve to keep us apart. That's a dangerous aspect of the ghetto hood mentality. So I'll put that out there.
And for everybody that's watching right now, please hit that like button. And if you're not a part of the YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, and let's stop being so hood.
Yeah.
Embrace. Embrace. Embrace it.
Another example of hood mentality, we just seen it fairly recently with Jay Morant.
Oh, yeah.
Mm, Come on. Jay Morant, John Morant. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his first name. But
Ja.
seriously, and what gave me pause when I first started to notice him was the incident he had last year, whereby his mother was at a store in a mall. And I guess for some reason she didn't like the customer service she was getting. I think it was a shoe store in a mall. Instead of, I don't know if he maybe asked to speak to a manager or whatever, but for whatever reason she didn't like the customer service, and she gets on the phone, calls her son or texts him. He was there somewhere in another part of the mall, and then either he arrived or somebody from his entourage arrives. They go in the store. Nothing is resolved. It gets escalated to whereby security has to ask them to leave the store, and then they wind up in the parking lot of the mall. Still nothing is there's no de-escalation. It just gets worse. So long story short, the police have to arrive. And this is in Memphis now. The police arrive, and the police, one of the responding officers has to put himself in between a member of Jay Morant's entourage and the director of security at the mall.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Now it gets worse. That member of his entourage. Now, once again, picture this. You have a member of Jay Morant's entourage. You actually have a member of Memphis PD in between the member of the entourage and the director of security. The member of the entourage reaches over and slaps the director of security
Oh
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
People were saying that was a security guard. No, when you do research, no, it was the director of security for the mall.
It wouldn't even matter at that. Remember what I just talked about at the top of the show, David?
Mm-hmm.
Yelling,
Yeah.
hands off. You put your hands on me, I'm putting you down. I don't care who you are, where we are. It's on and popping.
But what got
Ain't
me
no
always
goddamn
upset
way.
is that, oh, and even I have that's what the coworker is. Herb, you know I do security like you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So at my post where I'm at, one of the tenants, after because I work at a commercial site, last year during the season, we're having a discussion. He's saying, "Oh, Jay Morant, he's the face of the NBA, the league." I said, "What? Him? With all his antics off court, he's referred to as the face of the league of the NBA?" He told me yes, and that's what I have an issue with. How that kind of mentality is also brought to the forefront. Compare Jay Morant to Damian Lillard. You never hear anything about him negative off court. Matter of fact, Damian Lillard, besides being a very prime player, excellent player, point guard, he had from when he first started in the league, college graduate, started a non-profit organization in Portland to help the underprivileged youths to stay and graduate from high school.
See, the thing about that is with Ja, he's probably feeling it right now because one of his boys on the team, Desmond Bain, he just got hit with a $200 million contract. So all of this stuff was supposed to be coming to Ja. Uh, Anthony Edwards, like 23, 24 years old, making 50 some million a year. Shit, Jalen Brown on the Celtics. I think he got the richest contract in NBA history. I think his contract is worth like 60 million a year.
Mm.
This is stuff that Ja Morant could have been having, but he wanted to be hood. He wanted to be hood. He wanted to flash the guns on Instagram and then come back and say, "Oh, that wasn't a real gun." But that's not the point. That's not what they're looking at because kids are watching you. Kids are watching you, and if you're gonna be the face, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to show and prove. See, the difference is when when you had people like Jordan and they would talk about his vices, or he gambled, he did all that. That was after hours.
Yes,
Yeah.
That was after hours.
but
That
on
was
his own
grown man
time.
stuff, whatever. Yeah,
Thank
not
you.
riding around in the car doing this and that, and it's just like I'm like, dude, you blowing it, man. You are really blowing it. They still trying to hold on. They holding on, but eventually, uh, and you can plead the mental health and all that stuff, but eventually it's gonna be like the little boy cried wolf.
Lemoyne asked a beautiful question, and I'm going to address it so that everybody understands maturity. Ja has yet to mature. And it reminds me of Allen Iverson when David Stern pulled him aside and said, "Hey, look, man, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. But you got some people in your crew that you don't need in your crew." Give you that point first. And I'm going to reference the situation that happened in Chicago last week. This is not about fault. This is about choice. And what John Morant hasn't exhibited yet is he's competent of making good decisions. Remember the second part of the shooting or the almost shooting that happened in Chicago where the young son did not allow his mother to get the firearm to shoot the purported instigator or the girlfriend? That's maturity. It took a whole lot of understanding for that young 14-year-old boy to say, I'm not going to let you do this. Think about
Wait a
those two.
minute, Herb. What do you mean? What do you mean?
When the initial situation happened, the story from what I understand was that she texted her son to bring her the firearm. Now I don't know if that's accurate, but let's go with it for the sake of this particular discussion. He came in and saw the guy striking his mother and shot him. She
Yeah.
told him to follow him out the store and shoot him, and he shot him a second time, and that was a fatal shot, I believe. Now,
Yes.
the mother was telling her son to shoot the other person in the store
Yeah.
because she
That's
was mad that she was instigating. And he
yes.
said, no, I'm not. And she tried to take the gun from the son so she could shoot the person. And the son did not relinquish that gun.
No, I understand this differently. She
Okay.
tells her son shoot the female.
Yeah.
The son was going to shoot the female, and I guess the mother had a change of thought and said, "Wait a minute, don't!" and try to
Okay.
reach for her son, and he shoved his mom away. She said, let's go because now we got a bleeding body that's right in the parking lot now. Let's
Okay.
move."
Okay. Okay. That was the way I heard the story. So, but either way, it's not a fault. I always try and remove fault and I look at responsibility. John Morant is old enough to do a lot of things in terms of being an adult. I think he's legally old enough to drink. So at a particular point in
Yeah,
time,
he's 23. He's 23.
right. So at a particular point in time, an individual has to start assessing
Mm-hmm.
what their decision is going to cost them. We talked about this last week, David, walking away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. No, I talked about this on a Facebook post. They were, and I'll bring this to the council's corner too. They said, what are some things that people need to learn? And I said, ignore people. Now, that doesn't seem like the right thing to do, but at a certain particular point in time, yeah, we did talk about this last week, Dave, when I said you have to walk away because you have nothing to gain and everything to lose.
Yeah.
Sometimes ignoring people is the best thing that you can do. That goes against the hood mentality where somebody does something, you say, no, man, no, fuck that. He disrespected me. No, walk away. Walk away.
But here's the thing with Jay Morant or John Morant. He needs to. How can he walk away from himself? That's the key thing with him. First, you had that incident in the mall. Then you had an incident whereby he had a pickup game with a 17-year-old kid in front of his house. Words exchanged or something for that reason, and he beats the boy or hits him and knocks him down. Goes into his house, comes out with a gun in his waistband. That's another incident with Jay Morant.
I didn't hear about that. I didn't hear about.
Yes. Okay. There's four. One at the mall, the one I just told you about.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, the third one, we're all aware of with the flash of the gun at a strip club or that kind of thing. And of course, after that is when Adam Silver sat him down, suspended him for 8 games, and let him know, hey, dude, this got to stop.
Well,
He was good for a while. Next, you know, wham, the second gun issue in the car with his buddies, singing to some rap song. Here we go. Wow. How many times do you need? Does it take for you to get some sense, especially when you have all these investors paying money to see you play in their game? The Nike deal, all that. If it goes south and there are no sales coming your way, you're not paying for your seat per se, an old telemarketing term, you're going to get the boot. You're going to get checked. This is where he's now getting checked. He's now suspended for 25 games without pay. Look what Memphis now did to that. They went and got Marcus Smart from Boston Celtics, who's a point guard and a shooting guard. Also, to
well,
my understanding, Memphis just also signed
got Derrick
D
Rose.
Rose. Thank you.
So they're trying to put people in their locker room to kind of influence him to lead them in the right direction because they
I
don't
won't say
they,
that. I
they
doubt it.
don't want to lose they don't want to
Right.
lose his presence. So they're trying to stick it out. They're trying to stick it
I
out
look
with
from
it.
a different point of view. So he put him on the side and say, "Bye, you out of here." Because look at Marcus Smart. He's
Mar-
29.
Marcus Smart ain't moving. Kids
Yeah,
ain't
they're not trying to be Marcus
tuning in
Smart.
to
They
watch
would like to
Marcus
be John
Smart.
Moran, and that's part
Yeah.
of
But
the
here's
problem.
the problem: what is John Morant doing off court, whereby he's not a liability to the Grizzly organization and the NBA?
No,
Is
we
he that
understand that.
much?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Gavin. Go ahead.
Is he now becomes so much of a liability? They're now going to say, "Wait, we got to cut our losses." That's what I'm trying to say.
No, they're gonna build the team to continue to win, but they're not bringing them there to try to take. The NBA needs star power.
Right.
They need star power. LeBron is on his way out.
Yeah.
You need somebody that's
He's gonna
who's
fill
kind of
seats.
galvanizing, and
Yeah.
that people could say like, man, I got it. He's must see TV.
Yeah.
John
Wembayama,
Morant is must see.
Wembayama.
They don't know. We don't know what he gonna do. We don't know what he gonna do yet. We only can hope and see. But of course, they're gonna try to build that up. That's why they tried to build it up in like he's the greatest high school, greatest prospect since LeBron James. They're marketing that. They're
Right.
trying to put up, but we don't know what he's gonna do. He might get a freaking elbow in his chest that collapse, and it might be over with. He's
Yeah.
small as hell.
And this whole situation reminds me of what Dallas did with Pac-Man Jones when they signed him. And I think that might be in some way, shape, or form what happens with John is they go surround him with people. And my boy said this. He said that they could actually get a court ruling because he's proven a danger to himself, and they can get certain types of supervision set up for him. And I think to address what you said, Gavin, how to protect, how does he protect him from himself? I think that might be the only way. Treat him like a pins, a person in need of supervision, and say, hey, look, you are putting a whole lot at risk. Not just your financial future, but also the financial future of 29 other businesses in the other NBA franchises. And we can't allow this. But we understand you are too valuable to just let go. So we have to figure out how to bracket you with services and counseling on a 24-hour period so we can get you on the straight and narrow. Because I don't know Ja's history in terms of what he did from high school to college. And I don't know if he's always been on the correct path or whether he's just fallen on this path because he's coming to some money. And the similar thing can be said with Zion Williams, him dealing with the female that he dealt with. And there's songs that glorify this. We talked about music at the top of the broadcast. I'm in love with a stripper.
But Herb,
He in love with a
Herb,
cheeseburger too. But
Herb with Jay Morant, he didn't go to college. I think he made it play.
yeah,
He went
He
straight
went
to
to
high
Murray
school one
State.
year.
No,
Excuse
I
me.
think who John Morant?
Yeah, he made it at most
Man, I
1 year
think
of college, and then he
he
left.
played
I
at
think he was
least
a one
two.
and done.
He played at
That's
least
but
two.
that's what I mean. I don't know. I don't know. Usually, for anybody that's one and done in college, you're gonna be what you were in high school. Your friends are gonna be what they were in high school
Yeah,
because you didn't have time to acclimate to college. I remember after my freshman year when I went to Buff State, granted I was a little older, I was still who I was the year I graduated high school. But because I didn't do certain things, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I was always on the straight and narrow. So I didn't have to worry about being wayward. I don't know if Jock can say that same thing. Essentially, he's just now getting free of everything. So he was free of high school, and now he's getting free of what he would have been if he'd have stayed in college the entire 4 years. He'd have got out of college at um 21, 22. So now he's actually just getting into the world. And now he's suffering real world repercussions for his actions. For most straight thinking people, they say, okay, you know what? I see the light. I see the writing on the wall. I like what I have. I need to change. But they see that because you're a rational, straight thinking adult now. They say mentally, a person doesn't mentally mature until 25. So the hope is that you can get him from now until the point that he reaches 25 and he gets that maturity about him and says, man, I was doing some real stupid, unbridled ghetto nonsense. I gotta stop that. Which is partially what we're talking about. How do we stop that? And I was saying there's some people that don't want to change because they don't see a problem. If the culture that he was surrounded with coming out of high school was to show him that you still can engage in this nonsense and still be successful because he's listening to rap artists, well, sure, he's going to emulate that because he's listening to rap artists. Rap artists are only bound by their label. And half of the labels don't care so long as you sell it. He got popped with a firearm. Oh, we can put that in the song. That song will go multi-platinum. It might push an album to platinum. It might push an album to gold. The label don't care so long as you sell. The label doesn't have an image issue. The NBA does because who are the biggest supporter of the NBA? Middle-aged Caucasian parents. And guess what they don't want their kids doing? You guessed it.
Mm-hmm.
Having a ghetto mentality. This is why China has banned hip-hop in their country. They don't want that stuff emulated there. No, you ain't bringing that garbage here. No.
And that's
Take
why,
that some more.
by my estimation, I'm sure with Jay Morant or John Morant, the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
All I can say is that's for the NBA to cut ties with him will be a lot. But it's like David said, if they do, who do they promote?
Yeah.
Because I don't see anybody else on his level right now in terms of star power. They need people to fill seats. That's why LeBron has been what he is because he fills seats. Everybody wants to see him. I
Not
mean, if you look
after
at the
not after being swept by a team that ain't never been to the dance.
Oh, stop. Yeah, you just stop.
listen, I'll put it to you like
He already put in the work, and that's why they still trying to build up Bronny, whatever.
Oh
Yeah,
no! Yeah.
they're building
let me
Here,
him
put it
up. They
here
building
we
him up.
go.
He makes 7 million off that NIL crap. They building him up. They
let
definitely
me ask
building
you
him
this,
Mm,
up.
Gab.
yeah.
Name me a player
Yes.
that you would buy season tickets for to see play 41 games a night other than LeBron.
Other than LeBron, if I had the money, Dame time.
Okay. Who else?
Um, Embiid.
You're not gonna say Curry.
Okay.
Anybody else?
No, I'm asking you. You got the money. You want to be a season ticket holder to a squad. Who are you paying to see?
Oh, Dame time. Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Got to say Curry.
I would.
um, I like the way that squad, the Celtics, played, but because of certain circumstances, they lost their leadership.
Mhm.
I feel that's why they were not able to go over that hump in the postseason.
So
Who else?
only two players in the franchise.
Two players in the franchise. Off the top of my head for right now, yes.
Okay, but that's what we're talking about. Who do you put in that position to say this is must see TV? It's like Sidney Poitier told Denzel Washington years ago
Mm-hmm.
before Denzel became what he was.
Mm-hmm.
Sidney told him, he said, "Hey, look, if you want them to pay you to see, if you want people to pay to see you on Friday and Saturdays, they can't see you during the week. and this is when Dizzo was doing TV. I think he had
ER.
there's a no, he wasn't on
No,
ER. It was
no,
another
no,
medical
no.
show. It was Saint Elsewhere.
St. Elsewhere.
I think
Yes.
I think it was Saint Elsewhere.
Yeah, it was St.
That's when
Elsewhere.
Dizzo
Thank
was
you.
doing TV, and he stopped doing TV and with the movie, and boom, blew up. Now he's done a lot of roles that helped him blow up. Him and Spike Lee for a moment of time were inseparable. But I mean, you can't write one's beginning without the other. But
Mhm.
this is the thing: who is going to once LeBron officially hangs it up? Who does the NBA promote? We know we can go back to the '80s. Magic, Bird, Mike came in. You can talk about Mike and the Celtics, but Mike was a mainstay for a while. And then you had a a, a, a plethora of people come in. They were trying to tout Harold Miner as the next Jordan, baby Jordan. You had Iverson come in. You had Grant Hill come in. You had Shaq. You had Penny. You had players galore
They don't
in the
have
NBA then.
nobody. They don't have nobody because the one thing Ja has, he has swag with him. He has that
Mhm.
Oh
difference. So
Lord, there
so
you go.
that's the
That
thing.
swag.
Oh, it's the truth. It's the truth of the matter. When you think of people who getting paid or whatever the case is, that's what he has. What's his
He
name?
has swag, and he also has no immaturity. But go ahead.
Wembley, whatever his name is. We we don't know what he's going. We really don't
Actually,
know.
we do when you look
We
him
don't.
up.
We know what he do, but when we're talking about when he down there with these grown ass men, and I'm talking
Yeah,
about will he appeal to kids? That's the
right.
thing. These kids got a heavy influence on urban culture, the
Yeah.
culture,
Well,
whatever. It
here's what I got to ask. Um, Herb and Dave, have you noticed for the past 10 years, probably even five, but the slow push the NBA is doing in regards to going for an international appeal, an international audience. Look who are the top among the top players now: Jokic, Voyachik, Doncic, Embiid. Embiid is from Cameroon,
Right.
and now who they're pushing hard
They're
is
getting
this
those
young
players.
Frenchman Wembayama.
They're getting those players. But even when you think about Jokic, black people ain't really checking for him.
Okay, Dave,
That's
you
the
didn't hear
thing.
what I was
That,
saying.
that's the that's the thing. You got to consider the market too. That far as blacks, whatever, you get a lot of blacks that watch the NBA. They're not checking for Jokic.
Okay, Herb, you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, but the thing that no, I understand the push for international players. That's been that way since David Stern was commissioner, though. I mean, you even go back and look at the point guard from the Spurs, who
Tony
came from
Parker.
France, Tony Parker. So
Parker.
this isn't new. The thing
I'm not
about it
so
is this.
right. But what I'm saying is I'm thinking for where I'm seeing it, the way the NBA has been going for the last few years, they're not worried about the home market anymore.
You really
Well,
believe
let me
that?
let me put it to you like this: they are. You just don't think so. And here's what you're missing: the vast majority, and I just saw an article on this. The vast majority of players who play in the league are American. If you lose them as players, you lose your game. Nobody wants to see Steph Curry's dominate the game from one end to the other because then you lose the excitement of the dunk. Even though Jokic may dunk and the rest of them kids they dunk, they're not dunking like LeBron. They're not dunking like Vince Carter. They're not dunking like all those people. So they may get something now, but long term, they're not getting it because that's what makes the NBA the NBA. Even though the slam dunk competition isn't what it was, you still got people that want to see somebody get dunked on because ultimately that's the sign that said, "Look, I dominate you. This is my square right here. You can go out there and shoot all the threes you want to because let's face it, Steph Curry is a once in a generation player. There's not going to be another Steph Curry that comes along. We all see what happened with the kid in Atlanta. You don't even hear his name anymore. and they thought he was going to be the next Steph Curry. He barely sniffed the playoffs. Yeah, they do, LeBron, and that's what I mean. They bring the fundamentals, they bring the shooting, but they don't bring that physicality. And in the postseason, if you ain't physical, you ain't winning.
But Herb,
That
who won?
that's
Also, hold on.
always gonna be
Also, they
Who
don't
basketball.
won?
again. Also, they don't bring that
Who won?
urban culture.
Who won?
That's Denver
Denver
won.
won because
They
Denver
won.
was bigger and physical. There's no question about that. But if you go back and look at the NBA in totality, it's always been the team that's been more physical that wins. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Caucasian players and European players can't be physical. That's not what they learned first. Matter of fact, go back and look at Dirk Nowitzki's career in the league.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to retire because the league was too physical. And it wasn't until somebody pulled him aside and said, hey, look, man, this isn't Europe. You got to toughen up. You got to learn to play with contact. That's what a lot of those European players don't get in Europe. They don't get that until they come to the league because you got to get bigger. You got to get stronger. Finesse is great on the exterior, but when you get into the paint, you're going to take some shots. And you better to be able to withstand those shots over an 82 game plus schedule if you get to the playoffs. This is why they're coming out with basketball rules against load management because they don't want their fans ripped off.
And let me leave Lemoyne's comment to your point, Herb. The NBA
Yeah.
is capitalizing on all of that. Think about it. The league would be boring if we didn't experience different aspects of the game. Yeah, and they bring all that into it. But again, even in certain sports, whatever, you have to have a face of something. Like in boxing, clearly it was Mayweather, but now who's really the face of boxing? People say Canelo, but it's probably Tank. It's probably Tank, and he's about more ghetto mentality, hood than it is. But what he do, he appeals to the younger generation, and then even older people like, oh, we know Tank will knock out a motherfucker tonight, whatever.
Right.
And and that's what that's what happened, and he fills up arenas. Is it other people out there that probably could beat him? Sure, Shakur Stevenson probably could beat him, but that's what they look for. Like, how can we get the biggest bang for our buck and get other people into it? And that's where the the African American culture, the young urban culture say, hey, we tuning into this person.
Yeah, because what a lot of people don't understand is the biggest revenue generator in sports, when you take all things in totality, ticket sales, merchandising, is still TV revenue. And we know that blacks are going to watch TV as an inexplicable part of our culture. It's never going to be removed. That's why I was saying that. So you look at your advertising. Most of the advertising is geared to who? Black men. Sneakers, alcoholic beverages, now that that's legal. They can't do cigarettes, but they find a way to get that fast food. Black, black, black. And this is what David is talking about. Black culture. Cater to it. Sell to it. Get the eyeballs in front of the TV. This is what they spend millions upon millions of dollars in marketing research for. It's not by accident. So they need somebody to get those urban eyeballs to the TV. They don't give a damn if blacks don't buy tickets because they know by and large that blacks are priced out of that. Same thing with football. Same thing. You take go from hockey, MLB, I was gonna say NHL, I already mentioned hockey, NBA. All of those sports are driven by TV revenue. So anytime there's an increase in revenue, it's largely because of the TV contracts. You see the salaries of football are just going exponentially. TV revenue, commercials, Super Bowl ads, 30-second, how much money? TV revenue. They don't give a damn if you don't buy another ticket ever. Just watch the game. Watch the game on TV. That's what we want. We want your beady little eyes watching that screen. We don't care if it's a 67-inch screen or you're watching on your phone. This why do you think YouTube is advertising the direct ticket? Because they realize, like David said, they realize that not everybody is watching pay-per-view services, i.e. cable, but they're watching, so they're streaming. If
And,
we can
and,
get the money from streaming dollars, we set.
and even with YouTube, that's why they dropped. They tried to lower the standard. Instead of the 100 subs, they put down for 500 for small market people, because we was like, shit, they want to get it all. Like, we just ain't
Mhm.
gonna focus on people who with all of these subs. We want to bring these the little market people into it. So we're gonna chop it in half.
Yep.
This stuff is done by design.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, it's an excellent conversation because it still feeds into the mentality, that's so pervasive among blacks. What we don't understand is this: we can have all that stuff in Black America in very minor doses. We can have the swagger without the violence. We can have the bravado without the crime. Think about it. The mafia, they had a code of conduct among themselves. Don't bring any drugs to this. Keep the families out of this. Make sure
Omerta.
that yeah, make sure that everything we do is above board. They really had a problem. It wasn't until they were infiltrated that they had a problem, but they kept this stuff among themselves. They didn't involve anybody else. It wasn't a problem per se in the way they conducted themselves. But see, our culture believes in being flagrant. Everything we do got to be showcased. We
which
got
is
to
what
be out loud. Go ahead.
which is what took down the mafia, which is what destroyed the mafia. They had to
Yeah,
be flagrant, i.e., John Gotti.
yeah, exactly. And so when we understand how to move, we understand how to be quiet, which is what the old time mafioso did. They were quiet. Then we can start to ascend to other levels. Leave that nonsense for all them other fools. Like Jay-Z said. But no, I'm sorry, not Jay-Z. There was this TLC, Left Eye. And I'll never forget this when I first heard it.
How the hell you confuse
Hold on, hold on,
Jay-Z
hold on,
with
hold
Left
on.
Eye?
No, it was because the line was so fly, man. He said, I'm never the one packing a gun. I got some other raw chicks for that. Lay that ass flat. I never forgot that mess. We ain't got to be the ones packing. Puffy does it. Why do you think you never hear about Puffy? We rarely hear about Puffy caught up with stuff. Puffy's like, I'm made. I don't have to do that. I pay people to do that. I pay people to take charges. This is what Ja doesn't understand. This is what we don't understand about our culture in large. Is once you get to a certain place, you got to leave certain shit alone. You got to.
He
Like
the big,
the
he the big dog.
unfortunately, like that guy from Migos.
Yes. Perfect example.
Unfortunately, but yeah,
Yep.
Who y'all say?
Our
From the
the
Eagles.
dude from Migos who got shot in the crack game
Mm.
earlier this year, I believe it was. And this is the thing we have
yep,
to understand that our decisions, whether we
hmm
believe it or not, they have a price. That price can be freedom, be life, be peace, but there's a price to be paid. The only problem is we as black men, speaking strictly of black men, we don't understand the value of longevity because not enough of us make it. Not enough of us have grandfathers that we can turn around and say, yo, Grams, let me ask you a question about how to handle this. Grams, I was faced with this situation. How should I handle this? This is what the old school pimps who made it out gave back. They didn't always give back money. They gave back the wisdom and the knowledge to say, hey, look, man, you moving wrong, man. You can't move like this
And
in the
unfortunately,
sea.
Are they listening? They don't want to listen. They just like the flash too damn much. It's too appealing to the younger
But they
generation.
but to the right person, they'll
Yeah.
listen. There's no way in the world that as a 30-something-year-old black man, I'm not going to listen to what a
Hmm.
60-year-old something is saying. Now, I may not do it immediately, but I'm going to say, okay, look, clearly this cat knows a thing or two because he's gotten us to be 60 years old.
Yeah.
Now, I may not like him,
Hmm.
but maybe it might behoove me to just sit down and say, you know what? Graham's right, man.
but the one thing that's crazy is we not in this day and age. We don't. We're not experiencing those. Once in a while, you have people, that live 70, 80, 90. A lot of these grandparents now, they're
Yeah.
gone. We just lost a couple people in Niagara Falls that young ladies, whatever, that's in their 50s, whatever, that lost their life. Like these are grandparents, and they're dying at like 40 and 50 some years old, man, and that's sad.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That is really sad and disturbing.
Let me ask something. Herb. No, no, no. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, Herb. Was you who asked me about earlier about if I had the money or my choice would be pay season tickets for?
Yeah.
Okay.
NBA.
So now my question is to both of you, Herb and Big David. From your estimate, from your judgment in the NBA of these young men who are, say, Jay Morant's age and late 20s, from your estimate, and I would more like probably feel David could answer this, but I'm answering both of you. Can you please give me like a percentage of what you would think players now, since most of the NBA players are black men, would have the sense enough to seek out Michael Jordan and say, hey, where do I go next? And I am not talking about game time on the court. Look what that elder did.
I would say zero.
Damn.
They don't identify with Michael.
Brother David, your estimation?
Yeah, I don't. I might agree with her, but I don't know if it's zero. But they're not connected, or they don't think like that. Like we're thinking about the Black Mamba, Kobe, who
Yeah.
was in Mike's ear all the time, texting him at three,
Right.
4 in the morning, like, yo,
Right.
I was just going through this, whatever. What should I do, or whatever the case is? To the point he was annoying Mike, but he was like, damn, he had to take a fall back and say, man, this dude, he's
Yeah.
hungry for it.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
hungry, so I got to accept him and embrace him, whatever. Overall, these kids not cut like that because they looking for instant gratification and they don't want to put in the work.
And
Kobe was
that's
trying to put in
sad.
the work. So
Well,
that's the
Well,
okay,
difference.
it's
but that's about the game, basketball game. I'm talking about what Mike did off the court in going over to becoming an owner of a team.
Well, a lot of
that
people
these
look
boys,
at
but that's what David's saying. They're not
Oh,
interested
okay.
in it. They
Okay.
don't. They case in point. Before Kobe transitioned, Kobe was well on his name to being a brand in terms of what Jay Z is. Kobe was well on his way to being a billionaire. The things that Kobe had his hand in,
Yeah.
people
Oh,
have
yeah.
no clue about. You do
Oh,
because you're out there. But the
I'm
average person
aware
around
of
you,
some of that. I'm aware.
yeah. But that's what David's talking about. Kobe was looking post basketball, like LeBron is looking post basketball. These kids, because they're they don't understand and they don't identify with delayed gratification. They want it now. They don't like the way generation. Why wait? Why wait 15 years when I can just get all this right now and I can do all this right now?
see,
Because life is a marathon.
and the
You only
thing
gonna play basketball most of 25 years.
and
Now,
the thing with Kobe and Mike, whatever, and even LeBron has some of their competitors outside of the sport that
Hmm.
they realize, hey, I'm an entity, I'm a brand, so I got to
Right.
build this or build that. They're not concerned, and it's probably going to hurt their image, and a lot of them are not going to last that long. So the hope is to find somebody who can that's gonna have longevity because
Yeah.
these they into too much, like
Right.
they're so. Ja, to me, my biggest concern is his safety. Like
Yeah.
if somebody gonna like, yo, man, I'm sick of this dude, whatever, and I'm gonna show him if you want to be a thug, I'm gonna show him because this the mindset of other people who sit around and watch
Right.
shit like, yo, I'm about to pop this dude or whatever. You gonna do it? Word, I'm telling you, right now. When he posts where he at, I'm going to do it. And this is what they sit around and the shit they think about destructive behavior.
Mm.
And that's what you mentioned, Gavin, with the cat from the Migos. Same thing.
Yeah,
They knew where he was going to be. Now, whether or not they had intentions to take him out is a different story. But the thing about it is, you don't want to place yourself
correct. I mean, if you
in
want to
any
gamble, he had
situation.
enough money or he was worth enough to monetize some of his worth along with his uh brother or uncle, whatever, and a certain rapper who's tied to them as well. You tell me you couldn't put money and buy your own casino?
No, it's not even. It's not the thing. The thing that, and correct me if I'm wrong. The thing about that is this: they don't want to own it. They want to be in it,
When you
and
own
that's
it, you're
part of.
in it.
No, no, no. They want to be a player in the game, and this is the thing: you can do that, but you have to
Yes.
do that with people on your level. So, case in point, remember the episode of Sopranos where homeboy gets in over his head and he borrows and he actually pays Tony off with the car. If you gonna set up a crap game, an illegal crap game, because they're all illegal unless you do it in a casino,
Hmm.
have a roster of people that are worth this amount of money and say, hey, look, man, we putting this little thing together, come through. You ain't got to worry about the safety because you know who's on the invite list.
Hmm.
Case in point, if I'm hosting a cocktail party and it's a $500 plate party, I ain't got to worry about no scofflaws coming in because they ain't doing that. They gonna say $500 a plate. Nah, they ain't. That's too rich for my blood. I ain't going there. This is see what we don't understand is this, and I learned this years ago. Didn't realize it until I got older. Was that there's a reason why nightclubs have dress codes? It's to keep out the riff raff. I remember going to the club exit here in Niagara Falls. I was a straight lace cat, but there were certain things that they wouldn't allow in the club. So when you go to a nightclub and you see no Timberlands, no jerseys, no certain
Hmm.
kinds of hats, no baseball caps, even fitteds, that's to creep up the element. It's an unspoken rule. It's just saying, hey, look, we don't want you in here. We don't care how much money you got. It's this we don't want in here because you fight at the drop of a hat. We got nice stuff in
Hmm.
here. We don't want you dancing on the tables, twerking on this, breaking on mirrors. We want to have people that come in here and have fun. It reminds me of Masquerade. Used to be on the corner of Ontario Main Street. Dave, I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I
Spot
remember
was
that one.
nice, man. They didn't allow no bullshit in there. Yeah, yep. Didn't allow no bullshit in there. And you had people coming from Buffalo uh, for happy hour. It was a nice spot, no nonsense. But they kept out that scofflaw element. I don't want to say criminal
Hmm.
because they weren't necessarily criminal, but they let you in. Didn't care how much you want to pay. You got stopped at the door. Sorry, man, you got on Tim's, you can't come in. You got on jeans, you can't come in. Well, you letting her in with jeans because she's a female.
Yeah, and then
Women might
some of
like
the
that.
guys that came in, they understood the owners or whatever, so they kind of like, okay, I'm not gonna come here and cut up in front of
Hmm.
Right,
my man's spot, whatever.
There you
So
go.
kind of realize I'm coming here to catch.
right.
I'm coming here, I'm chilling tonight, whatever I'm trying to catch.
Uh-huh.
And that's the thing that's lost on a lot of younger people is there's a disconnect between how to live in that element and how not to take that element with you. Remember in the movie Goodfellas when they go to the resort and what's the name wants to pay with cash? She said, no, 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 no. Here you sign. We got a lot of people that still paying with cash and don't realize that the way to move through this culture is just sign because your
Mhm.
name was everything. And when that information is not given back, do you still think you got to behave like this the wild wild west? America is much too civilized, even though some people may disagree. America is much too civilized to have the people in the limelight acting like they Josie Wales, acting like they Wyatt Earp, acting like this is the good, the bad, and the ugly. The quickest gun wins. Actually, nah. The quickest gun don't win anymore. The quickest gun get locked the fuck up, and that's just how it is. So people trying to pack it. I understand carrying for your safety, but Ja has enough money to hire a security detail. He don't need to be packing. For what?
See, I never understood, like, even when I think about the late great Sean Taylor from at the time the Washington Redskins. Man, when if I had money like that back in those days with those young people, I'm not going to nobody establishment. Having my own spot, or not even own it, just renting out some, and only certain people, special invites,
That's
people
what I
can
was
come,
getting at. You
and
telling me
and,
the
and
guy,
that's it.
but like the guy from Migos, if he didn't want the desire to own his own spot, shoot, take that money and invest already in an established spot like the Wynn, because the Wynn Hotel and Casino, in Vegas is like, come on. Then you get that real VIP treatment. Oh, come on in here, Mister, whatever his real name was. Here's a table for you. And there we
Right.
go.
Yeah. 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 Because they will shut down the crap table for the right person. They'll say, hey,
Thank
look,
you.
this is reserved. I've seen it
Yes.
done. I've seen it done. I've done security in the casino. I know they will shut down whole pits and whole sections for the
You
right
know.
person. Matter of fact, we had new kids on the block come through one time that shut
Hmm.
down Pit 8, which was a high roller pit exclusively for them. Had security posted up, couldn't nobody come in and out other than cocktail waitresses.
See,
And
And that
then
was how they were doing
in
it.
Vegas, some of those high class hotels, that's where some of the real high rollers from Kuwait,
Mhm.
uh, what's the other place? Dubai. When they
Yep.
come in, they drop $1 million on a hand, not the
Yep.
entire game of
Yep.
poker, just one hand, like it's nothing.
Mhm.
So hey,
see, even moving forward on a smaller scale, when people
yes,
think, because the summer just really just getting started. When you
yes,
think about these events y'all go to and all that stuff, again, we always talk about KYP, know your personnel, understand some things you can't control. If you just got to be there and you get caught up into the advertisement, it's going to be lit or whatever. You got to think safety first.
hmm,
Yeah, sometimes smaller environments that you can control and you know who's coming through, those memories will last and they'll
hmm,
be good memories. But
yeah,
oftentimes people chasing that silver bullet, wanting the big, I went here, I went there. That ain't where it's at. And in this day and age, that ain't where
hmm,
it's at. Because anytime you have alcohol, and then you think about even with the Baltimore mess thing, and they was like, oh, it was free alcohol. Free alcohol. That's prime setup for somebody who's been going through something to drink up something and all of a sudden get mad at space out and just start shooting or doing whatever the case is. You got to
yeah,
pay attention to surroundings and realize, like, and I can tell you on the small, and I've told this story a couple times to a couple friends on a
thank
smaller
you.
level. Back in the days, was dealing with a young lady, and a boxing match was going. I don't know who it might have been. Um, Shit, it might have been Evander Holyfield and Riddick Bowe, or whatever the case is.
Yeah,
And the young lady said, "I want to invite some of my female friends over. You could tell your boys to come over." And I said, "All right, cool. I'll let them know." And then she said, "But I'm gonna invite some of my guy friends over too." And I said, "Don't do it. Don't do it."
Right.
And she's like, "No, they cool. Don't do it." And I kept telling her, "Don't do it." But I said, because my boys, we clown, we joke, we crack jokes, and that's between us. And we say stuff that people like look at you like, "Oh yeah, are y'all serious?" But we just be playing because we know our personnel. Well, needless to say, she invited them over, and we was watching the match. And one of my boys kept instigating how long he would knock one of us out if we fought, and trying to play matchmaker. If y'all two box, how long would it last? And then he said something to the effect like, if I fight any of y'all, I'll probably let y'all go 2 rounds. Third round, I'm gonna go back to the corner and say I'm about to knock this motherfucker out so we could go out to the bar and have a drink. So we laughing, we cracking up at him. And the man, her Hoink, whatever. He said that.
Yeah.
So he said that. So the other guys are like, "I'll tell you right now, after drinking and all that, because of course you bring your own bottle. It was one of those things. It was drinks there. Ain't none of y'all motherfuckers gonna knock me out, huh? What?" And so then next thing you know, it was about to be furniture moving up in the spot. Because like, yo, what y'all trying to do? Then "I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you." But we always talked about this to her. We always talk about, sometimes you freaking listen when somebody's adamant about something. Don't do it. Don't do it. And they got sound judgment. Don't go against them. But like,
Right.
nah, they cool. They cool. No, they're not gonna be cool with my crew. They're not gonna be
Yeah.
cool. And
You already know.
we almost tore that house up that night, whatever, because all behind not knowing your personnel.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. This was a good one for me. I gotta like turn in, guys, because I gotta
We
get up
about to
early
get out of here
again.
anyway. We about to get
Yeah.
out of here with
I gotta
class.
roll. But it's been
All
All
right.
right,
good.
man. We
Brother
always
Herb,
appreciate it,
Brother
man.
David,
Yeah.
thank
All
you.
right. Salute, man.
Absolutely, man.
Peace
Pleasure.
out, man.
Peace.
Yeah, man. The hood mentality, man, has got to change. It's got to change. It's ultimately it's going to be what keeps us from getting to where we want to be. It's already proven to be our undoing in a lot of regards, but we can reverse that. But we have to put in the work. We have to do it from an individual level to a home level to a block level to a community level, and that's all that is to it.
We have to come together, and you have to remove malice and jealousy out of your heart. And even for some of, you have a lot of people that's trying to be entrepreneurs, trying to be podcasters, trying to be authors, and that's a great thing. But sometimes you gotta try to come together and support each other. And I know it's a competitive industry out here, but we people are so cutthroat, and I think, and that's the problem. Even when you out in the game, it's enough money for everybody. There's no need to kill nobody, especially if that person hasn't robbed or stole or did anything from you. But again, I just mentioned jealousy and malice. You can't be mad because they rolling, and you'll find out a lot of times that's the case because people are upset that that person is getting ahead, or hey, maybe and ladies, y'all might not want to hear this, but maybe he's plowing the chick you always wanted, but he's at a certain level of status that he came up on her. All of a sudden now you mad, you want to decide to set him up and kill him. Really, really, like, it bothers me. What do your life really look like spending the rest of your life in jail? Think about that. Are you that upset? I watched one of my people. He should produce one of my shows, and he did a quick thing. I think yesterday, and he was like, "Man." Man, I ain't trying to spend the rest of my life in jail for nobody. I mean, I guess if you violate somebody's family or their child, but most of the time, that's not even the case. Who the hell want to spend the rest of their life in freaking jail? For real, when you think about it. But then you want to write people and call people. Could you send me this? Could you do this? And fuck out of here with that bullshit. I ain't sending you shit because you made that choice. You made that choice, and you didn't have to. Like who wants to do that? And all these dumbass people keep killing people, thinking they gonna get away with something. And I'm gonna give her a shout out on this when she made a post. Nuki, and when you had said, I know you ain't watching it or whatever the case is, but when you had said that parents that know that their kids got guns or selling drugs and they accepting the money and all that, and if somebody died behind it, you just as guilty.
Yeah.
You just as guilty. You knew that shit. You knew what they was doing. And even when your child, something happened to them, don't get somewhere boo-hooing. You know what's going to happen. There's only so many outcomes that's going to happen. So don't act like it was surprise. But see, that's that ghetto mentality. And even some of y'all, I'm throwing shots, whatever. Some of y'all will glorify somebody y'all know coming home, and y'all make a flyer. Oh, such and such coming. Welcome back. And then it could be the same another person who wanted to have a little get together because he just got a promotion or he just graduated or whatever the case is, and he had a difficult life, whatever, but he ended up going to school. Who you think? What party y'all gonna go to? Melvin's, Melvin's or Marvin's? Marvin's the guy who just went to college and or whatever the case is, or got a promotion at his job, and he's throwing something, and it's the same day. Your ass is gonna be up in Melvin party lit, celebrating it. Like, man, welcome back home, man. Instead of saying, damn, man, Marvin, like, man, I can't believe he was able to pull that off. Like, he overcame a lot. I probably should go there and kind of rub noses with him and get in his ear or whatever the case is. But that's we preach it to the choir with that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we gonna get ready to get out of here. We talked about this, and understand this, people. This conversation is not going away. It'll be here. We'll keep talking about it because it'll be a part of something else. And we try to have conversations based on day to day issues. And as we see right now, last week we talked about mental health, and a lot of this stuff. Again, we always talk about it's connected. It's connected. We got a lot of mental illnesses in our community. So a lot of people suffering from stuff, and it ain't. A lot of times when people say I ain't mentally ill, I ain't crazy. That's the first thing they think about. I ain't depressed. Where's signs to say you depressed? But nobody ever. You never went anywhere for somebody to diagnose you. But we know that you depressed. Example, I'm just throwing stuff out here. Example, you was used to be 180, chisel, cut up, whatever. Now your ass, you drink, eat up some. Now your ass 280. You depressed. You're depressed. Or somebody used to have a good work record and had a good job. You stop going. You don't go no more. You're depressed. No one's probably going to tell you that, but you are. And people with anger issues and all that they can't control, it's called intimate explosive disorder. That you get upset and you ready to put your hands on somebody, no matter who it is, your woman, your kids, shit, your mama. You mentally ill. You're disturbed. There's so many. The thing about it is so many illnesses and diagnoses that shit, all of us got something.
Yeah.
All of us got something. All of us really, if they really want to be honest, they could say we all mentally ill with something. Shit, I could say myself. Sometimes I say to myself, damn, am I Asperger or something? Like Aspergerish, whatever. Like if my routine ain't right, I ain't right. And I gotta do stuff and keep the same routine. And that's how I keep putting out content, being up late, whatever, trying to build this platform. And I'm like, shit, something wrong with me. But I keep it moving, whatever. And I think the key thing is I ain't trying to harm nobody. And some of y'all, you can't
Right.
differentiate to say, okay, I'm in my own element, but but y'all still out here, y'all harming people, and that's a problem. So that's it. That's my closing comment. You got anything else, Herb? You want to add to that?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good.
All right, good people. We out. See you next time. Continue to participate in the conversations in the counselors' corner. If you're not a part of it, join it. It's something there for you. I mean, people join it. Let me just say something before I get off. It's a lot of people inbox me like, David, oh, I'm so sick of this group. These men here, these such and such here, but they won't leave. They won't leave. They're still there because you know why? What you laughing at?
No, I'm just no because I can imagine how the conversation goes.
Yeah. They won't good night, Sandra. I didn't know you was here. Usually you come on. You should have came on. We ain't seen you in a while. Miss you. Uh
Yeah.
all right, Lemoyne, peace, man. Appreciate you, man. We got to talk, whatever.
Yep. Surely do.
We always good for about an hour, 2 hour conversation. Uh, but yeah, it's I done lost my train of thought. What I was saying?
Don't forget, people. I'm going to post those two movies on my Facebook. You're more than welcome to check them out. Let me know what you think.
I don't even do it. At that note, I don't even know what I was thinking about. It'll come to my mind. With that said, we out. Everybody be well. It's hot and I don't know what it's hot as hell. It be hot, but it seemed like it's been raining all freaking summer. Uh, but be safe and pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention where you going, who's running it, whose spot is it, and pay attention because at the end of the day, you want to come home. You want to make it home. You want to live to see another day because it's wildfire out here now. For real. Shit, I'm surprised they every shirt and every item should have some type of bulletproof thing on whatever because it's like the wild west and it's not just in our hometown here in Baltimore. I think it's pretty much everywhere. It's everywhere. So just got to be safe and think about you only got one life. And with that said, we out. See y'all next time. And everybody be
All right.
easy. Peace.